Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Absolute Truth. My name is Glenn MacArthur. I'll be your host today, and we are going to talk about the Leganus problem. I mean, with the Oak Island problem, the Leganus problem. Okay. First of all, I don't know if any of you have seen that show or understood the what goes into it, but it's very interesting. I do believe in my heart of hearts that if you connect the dots and you stack up all the chips, you're going to find that this is something different. This is not a treasure hunt. Now, first of all, let's do a little history, okay, of the area and the region. Then we'll focus on the island itself. The first thing of it is this. Um, we in this whole area, there was only one civilization that made an attempt to come to America or come in our area. This was the Vikings. Um, Under Eric the Red, they came across, and that was back in what, it was 800. It was 800 BC. They put civilizations and communities in Iceland, Greenland, and in North America, which became known as Vinland. Anyway, what happened was we shift forward now to 1200. The Crusades are going on, and the Knights Templar have set themselves up as the guides financially and transitly for visitors to the Middle East. They're also interested in getting a hold of treasures, and they're also interested in representing the church. Some say they were out there and they were digging up things, but that's a horse of a different color. Next, this was the time frame of 1200, and we do know that at that time we had St. Patrick with the Irish Reformation of Ireland and the snakes, and you know the story about the leprechaun a little bit, the leprechauns and the whole bit coming out of Ireland. Okay, so what basically happened then is my guesstimate is that this was a time when the Vikings were undergoing the transformation to Catholicism. Now, they have seen what happens when that happens because they saw what happened with the Romans, the Goths, and the Franks. They saw that they were being that their holy sites were being removed and desecrated. It may have been during this time frame that they also may met up with St. Clair and saw the work that he was doing in this chapel and thought, this is an interesting deal. This guy, he knows masonry, he knows engineering. He's very, very astute. Maybe we can use him. The Vikings have a long history of using people when they needed them instead of killing them. They kidnap them and then use them for many reasons, maybe to create maps or maybe to create uh, things which they used. Anyway, they were known for using people. Let's put it that way. It could have been that they made a deal to move some of their sacred relics to an offsite that may have been in the Americas to keep them out of the hands of other people. We do know from movies. I hate to tell you, you know the X Men. You know that one. Um, Not X Men, but that one where you've got Thor and you got his brother Loki, and they were talking about the Red Skull in the Captain America, the Tesseract. We do know from that the Tesseract was a fabled stone of the gods. There was also other, they worship stones, certain kinds of stones. There was also talk of Ragnarok stones, um, runic stones, um, this is common in many cultures. The Greeks, they had their Hellespont stone, where demons, they said, would come out of and go back into hell. Then you had other stones that were well. You take a look at Pandora and the interaction with Alexander the Great, that they never found her cast that holds all these plagues and everything. There are cursed stones in every form of ancient lines, ancient civilizations. So the question here is, what happened? I mean, okay, did they go ahead and contract? Did they contract, or did they contact, or did they set up a deal agreement with the Knights Templar to help them get rid of something? Did the Knights Templar bring over a treasure like everyone says it did? Really? Let me clue you in. In 1800, there was this woman who, in Saint Reims, France, who said that underneath their feet was a treasure, unbelievable treasure. We do know that the Knights Templar did buy a whole country, Portugal, and influence it, and kept it as a safe house outside of Sinclair's England. Okay, moving that kind of funds would have brought up all kinds of suspicion. And then there's the fact of the matter is, is that they would have had to have gone overseas. And the only ship that has gone overseas was the tech that the Vikings were using. And that tech included a Jacob stone, which allowed them to keep due north while they were sailing east. They do know where east was, even in the worst fog. But they were able to get across, and they were able to navigate. And Sinclair and his bunch didn't. So what do we know? If they were put together and they did make a deal, what were they transporting? Were they transporting this vast treasure? Well, we all know that the so-called vault that was on Oak Island was 7 feet by 7 feet by 15 feet. I don't think the treasure would have fit in that vault. I don't think so. And don't forget, this thing is 180 feet down. No, I don't think so. Now let's talk about if they had tried to put a hoard of gold on board a ship that shallow, even in the worst waves, that would have meant spillage like you wouldn't believe. And on two, don't forget, these guys were were basically the ancient relatives of the Hells Angels. I don't think they would have got past the breakwater. I wouldn't have put it past that there would have been some greedy enough to say, let's kill them all and keep the treasure for ourselves. No, I don't think that would have happened. So obviously, this had to have been a Viking thing coming across. And they had the Knights Templars were masons after all, and they were engineers, and they were well adept in creating certain things. They were very adept at that. So my feeling is that yes, that's exactly what my feeling is. They built that. They built that. They built that whole mess to hide something. Now, if that's the case, I think the best proof of this, or should I say, the best scenario of this, the best example of this, would have been the movie Ruinstone. I highly advise that the Leganuses have a look at that on the internet because it's for free. They can check it out, and they can, and it's right there for them to see how something Viking could cause a lot of trouble. And this looks like a lot of trouble. Another thing that kind of has me standing back going, whoa, is the way this thing was constructed. A pit, right? Every 10 feet, there's these logs cross, right? Goes down 200 feet, right? Okay. It's all covered up. The logs are all covered up all the way to the top. And then there's a depression. And then there's this think from a ship hanging off the tree, or maybe some carved in the tree. Now, I hate to tell you this, but if you know anything about Malaysian tiger traps, that's a tiger trap, except without the punji sticks at the bottom. And I think they put some stuff down there which killed two or three guys, poison gas wise. And I do believe that they're trying to undermine their traps, undermine the island. Every time you dig down, you hit a trap, it undermines the island. Once the island is totally undermined, it is going to sink. And that's exactly what this trap is trying to do. It's trying to sink it. My advice would be, you better have a look at that. You see, they put little chain and they put a little cross and they put all this stuff in there to sucker you in. And when they got the kids down there to 10 to 30 feet, they set off the trap. I have them pull out the stone and in rushes the water. This is exactly what it's about. It's a trap. It's a man trap. And I'm afraid to say that in case you're wondering if it isn't, you better understand that how far did the Vikings go? The Vikings in America went all the way to Nevada. There is signs that they got to Nevada. The Hopi have a legend of a cave of giants that were killed with red hair. And then if you look at the other side of the world, in the Gobi Desert, they found a grave with people with red hair, giants, European, right there. So yeah, they really were explorers. They went around, and then there's the ruin stones in Nebraska, both with Knights Templar and with Viking symbols on them. And then there's the ruin stone in southern Missouri with all the different kinds of writings. It's like a translator stone. You might want to go check it if you're ever in Minnesota. Yeah, they were there. And but they can't affix the dates. But now we pretty much with Oak Island we can affix the dates, and we're going to fix what they did between 1200, 1400. They did it. They basically set that place up for that. And whatever's buried down there, you can't get at without taking off the whole top of the island. And I don't think Canada's going to let you do that. But I now need to sign off. So this is Glenn MacArthur, Absolute Truth. Bye.